sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Ever get one of those texts saying you missed a toll payment?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out there's a new scam going around using just that. And it's spreading like wildfire all across the U.S.
I can see how it'd be easy to fall for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're all used to getting texts from everywhere these days, right?
Yeah.
Your bank, doctor's office.
Right, so a toll agency wouldn't seem out of place at all.
Exactly. And that's precisely what makes this scam so dangerous.
It really preys on that sense of familiarity and trust.
Plus, these scam texts I've seen, they look super convincing, even with links that sound like the real deal.
Oh, absolutely. They put a lot of effort into making those fake websites look legit. But that's the trap.
Click that link and boom, they could have your info in a flash.
Driver's license number? Maybe even more. Think about the fallout from that. Identity theft. Not good.
So we're talking way more than just a few bucks for a bogus toll, right? This is serious stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And here's where it gets even wilder. This scam. It's not just some small-time operation. It's actually evolving. Some evidence points to pretty sophisticated phishing kits being used.
Phishing kits, you mean like tools for building these scams?
Exactly. And these ones, well, the security researchers are suggesting they're the work of Chinese cybercriminal groups.
Well, wait, are we talking like organized crime here?
That's what it's looking like. Researchers like Brian Krebs, they've been tracking these groups for a while now. Highly organized, always innovating.
So not some random hacker in their basement, huh?
Nope, this is big league stuff. And what's even more concerning is who they seem to be targeting.
Who's that?
Often it's people who might be more vulnerable, like folks new to the country or unfamiliar with our toll systems.
Makes sense. They might not know what to look for, what's normal and what's not.
Exactly. And these phishing kits, they're not just sending out generic spam.
Oh.
They can actually create really targeted messages, super convincing, making it that much harder to spot the fake.
Just like personalized scams almost.
In a sense, yeah. They gather info about their targets, tailor the message to fit. That's what makes this so tricky.
Okay, so we've got this scam, we've got these phishing kits.
Yeah.
But just for clarity, what exactly is a phishing kit? I bet some folks listening might not know.
Good point. Basically, it's like a pre-packaged scam ready to go.
Like a scam in a box.
Pretty much. It gives scammers all the tools they need, fake web pages, email templates, scripts to steal info.
So someone with like zero tech skills could use one of these and launch a serious scam.
Exactly. And that's the scary part. You find these kits on the dark web constantly updated with new tricks.
And it's like we're in a digital arms race, constantly trying to stay one step ahead.
You're not wrong. But here's the silver lining. Knowledge is power. The more we understand how these scams work, the better we can protect ourselves.
Totally agree. So let's talk about staying safe. What are some red flags people should watch out for?
First and foremost, any text out of the blue asking for personal or financial info, be suspicious.
Makes sense. Especially for tolls, right? I mean, how often do we actually deal with toll agencies through text?
Exactly. So a text saying you owe money, alarm bells should be ringing. Don't click any links, go straight to the toll agency's website or call them directly.
Better safe than sorry, for sure. But what if you do accidentally click on one of those links? Then what?
Well, that's when things can get a little messy. If you've entered any info, damage control is key.
So, like, what should you do first?
Contact your bank and credit card companies right away. Tell them what happened. They can monitor your accounts for anything fishy.
So basically, try to lock things down before more damage is done.
Exactly. And change any passwords for accounts you might have accessed through that link.
Sounds like a lot to deal with. No wonder folks get stressed out when they fall victim to these things.
It can be really overwhelming, but acting fast is essential to limit the potential fallout.
Okay, so we've talked about spotting these scams, what to do if you get caught. But what about preventing it in the first place? Anything we can do proactively?
Absolutely. One of the most effective things, enable two-factor authentication on all your important online accounts.
Two-factor, for those who might not know, what's that?
Basically, it adds an extra layer of security. You need a code from your phone or email in addition to your password to log in.
So even if they get your password, they can't get in without that second step.
Precisely. And tons of services offer it now. Banks, social media, you name it.
So if you're not using it, get on that. Easy way to boost your security.
And speaking of boosting security, keep your devices and software updated. Those updates often include patches for known vulnerabilities.
So don't ignore those pesky update notifications. They're actually important.
You got it. And finally, this might sound obvious, but it's crucial. Stay aware and informed. The more you know about scams, how they work, the less likely you are to fall for them.
Knowledge is power, like you said.
Yeah.
Especially in this digital age.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of staying informed, remember those warnings and alerts we get? Pay attention to those, especially from trusted sources.
Oh yeah, like that one from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Exactly. They put out a warning recently about these very scams.
Yeah, they were saying, watch out for texts from overseas numbers.
Right, and they pointed out a couple key things to look for, like, does the name look right? What about the URL?
So even if a text does mention tolls, don't just assume it's legit. Got to check the details carefully.
Exactly. And that's where knowing a bit about your local toll agencies comes in handy.
Yeah, like, do they usually even send texts? What's their real website address?
Right. Having that info at your fingertips can help you spot a fake in a second.
Good point. I think I'll double check all that for my own area, just in case.
Always a good idea to be prepared. Speaking of preparation, it's kind of funny.
What's that?
We're talking about these Chinese hackers, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the FBI is warning folks to limit cell phone use.
Because of worries about Chinese infiltration of U.S. networks.
Exactly. It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
It does make you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on one hand, watch out for those texts. But on the other hand, maybe don't text so much.
It highlights how complex this whole cybersecurity thing is. It's not just about big governments or fancy hackers.
Yeah, it's also about those everyday scammers taking advantage wherever they can.
And with tech changing so fast, it feels like a constant struggle to keep up,
It can be overwhelming, for sure.
But hey, the good news is the basics of cybersecurity, they haven't changed all that much. It's still about being aware, cautious, taking steps to protect yourself.
Like not clicking those suspicious links, using two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Exactly. Simple things, but they can make a huge difference.
We've been talking a lot about the tech side of all this, but I'm curious about the psychology too. Like, what makes these scams work so well on people?
Oh, that's a fascinating question. I think a lot of it comes down to emotions. This toll scam, for instance, it plays on urgency and fear.
Right, like, you owe money, gotta pay now, or else...
Exactly. It triggers that impulse to act fast without really thinking things through.
So it's like a rational brain gets kind of hijacked by panic.
And in a way, yeah. And they use other tricks too, like social proof.
What's that?
They might say things like, thousands have already paid using this link, or include fake testimonials, making it seem like everyone's doing it.
So you feel like you're missing out, gotta get on board.
Exactly. They create this false sense of legitimacy, making you feel like you're the one doing something wrong if you don't comply.
It's crazy how they tap into those basic human instincts.
They're good at what they do. Gotta give them that.
So knowing all this, any practical tips to stay ahead of the game, aside from the obvious don't click? What else can we do to avoid falling into those psychological traps?
Here's a simple one. When you get a message that feels off, suspicious, urgent, take a breath.
Like a mental pause button.
Exactly. Don't let those emotions take over. Give yourself a moment to think rationally. Does this even make sense? Have I ever heard from this sender before? What's the worst that could happen if I just ignore it?
It's so easy to just react without thinking. Taking a beat can make all the difference.
And you know what else helps? Talk to someone. Show that suspicious text or email to a friend, family member. Get their opinion.
A second pair of eyes can catch things you miss.
Totally. And don't be afraid to contact the supposed sender directly, just to double check.
But not using the info in that suspicious message, right?
Good catch. Go to their official website, look up their number independently.
Be proactive. Do your own research.
Take it at it.
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about prevention. But what about the folks who've already been scammed? What resources are out there to help them recover?
Good question. Luckily, there are organizations dedicated to helping with identity theft and fraud.
Oh, like who?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, they got a great website specifically for identity theft.
The FTC website. I bet a lot of people don't even know about that.
It's super helpful. They've got guides on reporting it, recovering, protecting yourself in the future, even sample letters you can use.
Wow, so it's not a hopeless situation if you've been scammed. There are steps you can take.
Exactly. And another great resource is the Identity Theft Resource Center. They offer free help, a hotline, tons of info on their website.
It's good to know there's support out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say, if you've been scammed, you're not alone. It happens to so many people.
You're absolutely right. No shame in it. The important thing is to act quickly, get help.
Now, what about legal action? Can these scammers actually be caught?
It's definitely possible, but it can be tough, especially if they're operating from overseas.
Makes sense.
But there have been cases where authorities have shut down whole operations, brought those responsible to justice.
So there's hope for justice, but it's not always a guarantee. Just another reason why prevention is so crucial.
Couldn't agree more. Better to avoid being a victim in the first place than deal with the aftermath.
You know, we've covered a ton today. From the nitty-gritty of these attacks to the psychology behind them, it's a lot.
It is, but it's all connected.
But I want to circle back to something we mentioned earlier. Tech, fighting tech. Any new tools on the horizon that can help us stay ahead of these scammers?
Definitely. One really promising area is artificial intelligence, AI. Researchers are developing systems that can analyze texts and emails in real time.
Like looking for signs of a scam.
Exactly. They're trained to spot patterns, red flags we might miss.
So it's like having a scam-detecting bodyguard for your inbox.
Pretty much. And these AI systems, they're getting smarter all the time. The more data they see, the better they get at catching even the trickiest scams.
That's encouraging. It feels like we might actually have a chance to fight back effectively.
I'm optimistic too. Technology can be a powerful force for good in this fight. But even with all the advancements, we can't get complacent.
Right, we still need to be careful, educate ourselves, take those proactive steps to stay safe.
It's a team effort. Tech helps, but we need to stay informed and empowered too.
Well, I think we've squeezed every last drop of knowledge out of this topic today.
We've covered a lot of ground, that's for sure.
And hopefully, we've given you the tools to stay safe in this crazy digital world.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, and in the world of scams, it's our strongest weapon.
But the conversation doesn't stop here. Tell your friends, family, spread the word. You might just save someone from a lot of trouble.
And if you want to go the extra mile, do some research on your local toll agencies. Knowing their practices makes it so much harder for scammers to pull a fast one.
Great advice. Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into this world of toll road tech scams.
Stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't let those scammers win.
And on that note, we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive, where we'll be. Well, you'll just have to tune in and find out. We've really gone deep on this one, haven't we?
Yeah, it's amazing how many angles there are to this whole scam thing.
And it really highlights how crucial it is to just stay informed, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Awareness is key, no doubt about it. But there's something else I've been thinking about.
What's that?
We've talked a lot about the methods, the tech, even the psychology, but we haven't touched on the human cost.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
We've been focused on protecting ourselves, but there are real people on the other end of these scams.
Right.
Real people who get hurt.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the digital side of things, but the impact is very real. Think about someone who loses their life savings or has their identity stolen.
The stress, the fear, it must be awful.
It is. And for the scammer, it might just be a job, but the ripple effects can be devastating for the victim.
It's a good reminder that even online, we need to think about the ethical side of things. Our actions have consequences.
Absolutely.
It's easy to feel helpless against these scams, but like you said, knowledge is power. And maybe sharing that knowledge, warning others, that's the most powerful thing we can do.
I think so too. If even one person avoids becoming a victim because of something they heard here today, then it's all been worth it.
So to our listener, consider this a call to action. Tell someone you care about this. Share what you've learned. It could make a real difference.
And if you want to take it a step further, spend a few minutes getting familiar with the toll agencies in your area. Know how they operate, how they communicate. That makes it so much harder for these scammers to trick you.
Great advice. Well, folks, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of toll road tech scams. It's been quite a journey.
It has. But remember, stay vigilant, stay informed, and don't let those scammers get the best of you.
And on that note, we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring those fascinating corners of the digital world.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till